approval tonight, Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. So 2 p.m. in the Ocean Lounge, as well as remotely via Zoom. Once again, as a reminder, the meetings, as per Florida statutes, are now also recorded for review later on by anybody with availability of the video. Wanted to certify quorum, considering we have a vacancy here on the secretary side. I will do it on behalf of the board. Heskey?
Present.
Bill?
Present.
Denise?
Present.
Alex?
Present.
Roseanne?
Present.
Mark, myself, present as well. And to confirm, we also have Scott and Isabella from First Services present as well. Scott, can you please confirm that we have posted the notice of the budget meeting as per Florida statutes?
Yes, I certify that the notice of the budget meeting was posted and mailed to the owners at least 14 days prior to the meeting date for Florida Statute 718 requirements.
Okay, great. Before we go into the consideration and adopting of the operating budget for 2026 and the motions, I wanted to pass it off to Heskey to make a quick note and then a presentation of the Finance Committee.
Hello all, this is Heskey Brahimi, your treasurer, and I'm proud to finally present you with a budget that that's not going to cause us to pull our hair and cry. This is a much needed reprieve after years of high and double-digit increases. I'd like to thank Katina, Mike Sisto, Pam Valerio, and Sandra Roy on the Finance Committee for helping us devise this budget that's very affordable and reasonable, and yet we are fully funding our reserves. If you recall, in past years, we used to have contentious budget meetings where we'd vote on whether to fully fund the reserves or not. In this case, we are fully funding the reserves, which alleviates the need for a member vote. We're going according to what's required, albeit it's at the minimum amount, but it's still $2 million of reserve funding, which is more than ample. And so this alleviates the need for a member vote. I'd like to pass the mic to Mike Sisto so he can go into the details of the budget.
Thank you, Heskey, and good evening to all, the board and all the unit owners who have joined us this evening to review the budget. I've put essentially 3 slides together just to provide a bit more context and details around some of the numbers. Before I do that, as Heskey mentioned, the Finance and Insurance Committee is made up of Heskey, Scott, Sandra, Pam, and Katina, and we all worked quite closely in putting this budget together. In fact, we started the process in September and early September and finished late in October. We had 6 budget revisions, so we challenged one another, we challenged the numbers, and came up with a budget that I think really accomplishes the objectives we set out. So with that, big thank you to the team. And again, just to reemphasize the role of the Finance and Insurance Committee, we're an independent committee to oversee the financial matters and insurance needs of the building. So Scott, if you go to the second page. So all I'm showing on this slide is the information that was included with with the budget package that was mailed out to all unit owners. I'm not going to go through this. I assume you've had a chance to review and read this, and you may have some questions. I'll take questions as we go along, but the next 2 slides are really to provide a bit more detail around this. So if I start at the top there, the 26 budget, the objective was to minimize owner maintenance fees while having the necessary funds for improvement and compliance projects and to keep the building up to date. We want a beautiful building. We have to improve it. We have to spend money to improve it. And also for 2 reasons. One is to make it an attractive building. The other one is we have to do some things for compliance purposes. And there's a few of those projects that I'll highlight for 2026. So if I start at the top line there, the 2025 budget, that was our starting point. Our maintenance fees were made up of our total spending was 6.8 million, 6,853, which were made up of two components: the maintenance fees that the unit owners pay, which were 6.4, and our other revenues ranging from interest to parking rentals to all other revenues we generated were 419,000. So if we break that down, and how do we get from there to the 2026 budget? Well, I've highlighted four main expense categories. The first one is the insurance. So we actually went back to market and asked our insurance agent to do another market recap because we did one early in the spring to renew our insurance fees. So we've asked them to go back to market and see what was happening in the marketplace as far as as far as insurance. In general, property insurances continue to decline. Liability insurances increase, but not to offset any. Obviously, the biggest component of our insurance is property. And they expect that those decreases will continue in 2026. So with that and discussion that our agent had, we were able to reduce budget to budget, so 26 budget compared to 25 budget, 373,000. So our insurance costs went down 24.5% or 24.6%. Then if we look at our next category of spending, it's salaries and benefits. We're bringing on a maintenance engineer, and the role of that maintenance engineer is to really look at best practices, look at cost reduction opportunities and asset extension. And that cost us 106,000 with the salary and the first services fee. So then we had a 3% salary inflation that accounted for 31,000. And medical and payroll taxes have increased quite a bit, 42,000. So the total of that from a salaries and benefits perspective is an increase from last year's or from this current year's budget to next year of 179,000, 13.1%. So Scott, maybe you want to add a few words around the maintenance engineer in terms of roles and responsibilities, and maybe comment on the medical benefits, which are increasing significantly.
Yeah, so on the medical benefit side, that was when the security staff got brought on to first service. There were a couple security officers or operations officers that joined into the first service medical program. And then now with the open enrollment that just closed about 10 days ago, we had more staff join the medical benefits than what there was prior, whether that's because we had kind of a turnover on employees in that department and more are taking the medical benefits than before, or if it's just the coverages that are available for them, but there is an increase in employees last year versus this upcoming year that have elected medical coverage. The maintenance engineer, he's really dedicated in looking over the maintenance department. He's actually now looking over the maintenance department and the housekeeping department. So he's directing housekeeping on what to do, providing them with schedules where they should be working at every day, really starting to work closely with housekeeping versus kind of what's been happened in the past. He's in direct contact with the housekeeping company because it is a third-party company that comes in here and does housekeeping services for us. And then he's also really there looking over the maintenance department, confirming if work orders have been completed, if they're properly completed, and just having that extra maintenance person on staff because we weren't even able to keep up with maintenance items in the building that we needed to do between leaks that continually happen on a weekly basis, changing out cast iron pipes, just the total upkeep of the building. Getting him in here has really brought us back, being able to close most work orders out on a daily basis and keeping up with the maintenance and repair items rather than falling behind on them. And just a note too, me and Rodney, our new maintenance engineer, we walked the building multiple times last week, and we created an inventory list on all of the equipment in the building. We figure we got about 99% of the building, and we're at 156 pieces of equipment in the building where we log make, model, serial numbers. If we knew when the component was installed, we took down that information. And that's basically what maintenance is looking over on a daily and weekly basis. In all these maintenance rooms we have checklists. There's certain things they have to check and make sure that the equipment's running properly, what temperatures are, and just having him be able to go to all these different items every morning when he first comes in, making sure that everything's running properly it's a big help on the maintenance side. And then plus with that list that we created, we're going to create a big preventive maintenance binder that shows pictures and instructions on what is the proper preventative maintenance for all these components in the building. So it has, again, on the staff side and my side as a manager, it's been such a huge help having this extra maintenance person in, and especially with the knowledge and the experience that he brings to Playa del Sol.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. And from my perspective, I really consider that position as as investment spending. As Scott said or alluded to, it's more, to do things and do them right and do them on time. And if you do that, then the building should look better, the maintenance around it should be better. And in the long run, or the medium to longer term, we should be saving money or increasing the life of certain assets. All right, so if I go to the third category, administrative, that increased by 102,000 or 41.6%, which is a significant increase. And there are really three major factors that lead to that. One is we added in 35,000 for legal litigation. We kept the legal budget the same as 2025, but added in litigation because, as you guys see in here, there's a lot more litigation going on, and it's unfortunate, but it happens. So we provided for that. The other thing we provided for in this budget that we had not provided last year or in the 25 budget is income taxes on interest revenue. That accounts for 35,000. We have over 200,000 of interest revenue. And then professional fees for projects at 20,000. We have some significant projects and some engineering and professional fees around that. And then general inflation. So that accounts for 102,000, or like I said, 41.6% increase. The fourth category are contracts, utilities, and repairs and maintenance. We provided for 3% inflation on that, which accounts for 50,000. Then raw material general is 39,000 increase. Housekeeping and lawn care is 29, and cable TV is 25,000, and cable TV is as per our contract, totaling 143,000 or 8.5%. Scott, would you like to make a comment on any of those items or?
Yeah, just on a couple. The Hotwire contract for cable TV and internet, as Mike said, in the contract there is an escalator clause, and it's every year I forget if it's 3 or 4% interest increase in that cost. So that's going to happen every year that the building has Hotwire. And then it was housekeeping. The increase in housekeeping is basically because the housekeepers make their salary is minimum wage. That's how much they make. And Florida is increasing their minimum wage up to $15 an hour by, I forget if it's supposed to be at $15 an hour in 2026 or 2027, but they've been increasing the minimum wage by $1 every year until they get to that $15 an hour. So that's where the increase in housekeeping is coming from.
Okay, thank you. So with that, the total operating expenses have increased by 51,000 or 1.1% compared to the 25 budget. The reserves have increased by 178,000 or 8.8%. And I'll comment on that, or the next slide will will provide the details on that. In the budget package, it said that the actual maintenance fees reserves were decreasing 40%, which is accurate. But we're drawing on 200,000, 220,000 of interest revenue that we're applying against the reserve. So we're actually going to spend more money on reserves than the reserve study because of that interest gain. So the 2026 budget is $7,082,000, an increase of 229,000 or 3.3%, of which the maintenance fees from the owners account for 6.5 million, or 90,000 increase, 1.4%, and other revenues have increased by 558,000. Not increased, other revenues total 558,000, increasing from 419 in the 25 budget. And that essentially, there's a lot of verbiage there at the bottom explaining that, but essentially it breaks down to two things. One is we're generating 220,000 of interest, which has been allocated to reserves. And we've drawn 150,000 from owner's equity to minimize the impact on the maintenance fees. And having done that and having drawn on owner's equity 165,000 in the 25 budget, we're still left with 300,000, where we project that at the end of 26, we'll be left with 300,000 in the bank per se of owner's equity for future contingencies, projects, or future budgets. Okay, with that, let's go to the last page and then we'll open it up for questions.
I don't have a copy of that.
Good job.
Okay, so the reserves funding. So again, as Heskey mentioned, we're fully funded. There's two levels of funding in the reserve studies. One is the recommended funding, and the other one is the alternate funding. Either one of those means we're fully funding the reserves. So the reserve contributions this year will be used for major projects. And I mentioned some compliance projects and some improvement projects. So the projects listed under comments there are the fire alarm, the sprinklers, which is a compliance project, the BDAs, bidirectional antennas, which is to improve the radio coverage in the stairwells for emergency responders. The air conditioning risers, I put 1 month there because we're actually starting that project towards the end of 26. So we've got costs in there for 1 month. And then there's a big one related to cooling towers of 2.2 million, which is non-SERS. Now, what's interesting with that is that in the reserve study was projected to be done 7 years out. But the condition of the cooling towers indicate that these should be done sooner than later. So we'll see what kind of impact that has on the numbers. And then the other major project is the roof, but that's being funded through the Special Assessment Fund, where we have the adequate monies to do that. So when we look at SERS, and again, SERS is a Structural Integrity Reserve Study, and that's really money pertaining or related to any structural improvements or maintenance or upkeep of the building. So in the 25 budget, we had 1.640, and this year it's 1586, 1.586 million. The non-SERS is pretty much the same. We're going from 400 to 412. So the subtotal of that is in 2025, we had contributions or maintenance fees towards reserves of $2,040,000. This year, it's 1,998,000, so hence the 42,000 reduction. But we're generating interest revenue, and part of that interest revenue is going to be used against the reserves, and that totals 220,000. So even though we're funding out the alternate level, even though we're receiving less money from the unit owners for reserves, we're actually going to spend more money for the projects, which is a good thing because then the upkeep of the building and the improvement of the building will benefit from that. So again, the total reserve contributions are 2,040,000 in 2025, and they're going up to 2.2 million in 2026. And again, in the comments, it highlights that the 178,000 is due to 220 of interest revenue, less the offset of 40,000 for maintenance fees. Now, the question may come up with these amounts and this spending, how do we stack up against the reserve study balances at the end of 2026? So the reserve study with the recommended funding projected that we would have 3.9 million in reserves at the end of 2026 for future projects. And that was made up of 1.8 million for SERS and 2.1 million for non-SERS. With the budget we're tabling tonight, with the spending we're anticipating, both on the operations side and the reserve side, more so on the reserve side, we're projected to end 2026 at 5.6 million. So we'll have more money in the reserve accounts than the reserve study had planned for, which is a good thing because then it will have a positive effect on the building, and it gives us a bit of leeway in terms of what projects we can do, and hopefully less increases in the future. Now, the interesting thing here is that when you look at the breakdown of that 5.6 million, 5.5 of that is in SERS, and we're left with non-SERS of $75,000. Now, the reason the non-SERS is so low, lower than the 2140, is because of that cooling tower project of 2.2 million, which will happen 7 years sooner than anticipated. The only other thing I would comment is that we'll do another reserve study towards the middle of 2026, and we'll get a better appreciation on the useful life of some of the assets that are need both on the SERS and non-SERS side. So that concludes my overview of the budget, and we're certainly open to comments and questions.
First off, Mike, I wanted to, thank you. It was well vetted by you and the committee, easily readable and understandable, and certainly appreciate the professional view of that. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been fun working on the committee, and I invite unit owners to participate in our committee meetings, which are held monthly, to provide your perspective and your insight on things. And this is our building, so the more input we get, the more it's appreciated, and going forward, then good ideas will be taken forward for sure.
Yep. So, Mike, what we'd like to do is put the motion through. And then have open dialogue between the board, and then open it up to owners as well. So if you could still stay on as well, that'd be much appreciated.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So I want to put the motion out for the consideration and adoption of the 2026 operating budget. Do I have a motion to adopt and approve the 2026 budget as presented, collecting $4,526,269 in owner assessments, and in addition, fully funding the SEERS and non-SEERS in the amounts of $1,586,200 in SEERS contributions and $412,000 in non-SEERS contributions? Do I have a motion?
I second it.
Okay. We'll open it up now for forward comments or questions about the budget.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hand up.
I noted. I think it's very well vetted out, understandable. I like the 1.9%. Even though we have much better increase and better talent in the building. And to Mike's point, right hiring and right sizing for the association should have long-term benefits in many ways, as was noted. So I am good here.
I'm good.
Okay. Awesome. Let's open it up to folks. Is anybody in the lounge right now before? Okay. Please.
We got one.
Yeah, we have one, and then we'll go to Zoom for the hands that are up.
Okay, basically, my name is David Greenbaum, apartment 511. Okay, so Scott, a question for you.
Yep.
With the increase in medical insurance for the employees, are the employees contributing to their health insurance? Because it was like an open-ended, type of thing.
Yeah, it's a 75% association paid, 25% employee
So
paid.
they contribute.
Yeah.
All right. Next question, Chesky.
Yes.
So
If you could just for
Hello?
the yep.
Yeah. So we have like interest. We're paying income tax on interest from money we have in the bank. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year we earned close over 440,000. So
What did this
you
budget-
figured 30% of that,
What did this say on this budget? How much interest?
Well, he just really reflected the increase over last year.
Okay.
So
So,
we had something budgeted, but it was a little short.
and are we able to write anything off on that? I mean, are we paying? In other words, whatever the interest is that the percentage we're paying, or are we able? Do we have write-offs like?
Well, they consider, the IRS considers this association income, because usually associations contribute exactly what they expect to spend. But this is outside income, so it's taxed at regular rates.
It's regular.
Yeah, at federal
Just
rate.
It's
Well-
interesting from a federal rate perspective.
Okay, and the last question I have are, so when we hire consultants or we hire attorneys, it's all open. I mean, if they show up at a meeting, it costs us $500. Is that in the budget where
Yes, those are all.
that's part of even?
Yeah.
So
And
because I'm saying like with our last project manager, we spent like a lot more than we expected to. With
Yeah.
Terry, of course, it was supposed to be a part-time, but it was like we were being billed all the time.
And those are all, the assessments word is probably not the right word, but these are items where, based on projects, having these project managers as well as more of the experts looking over these programs, it is on our duty as a board to monitor and make sure they don't overrun.
Okay, so who's monitoring? Who's monitoring?
That's
Is it
the-
assigned to one person or?
No, we hired Sharp Project Management to oversee our upcoming projects. And where they come in is, they sort of shepherd the bidding process. So, where a few years ago, we just like take it for granted and take, the first couple of bids without going through a proper bidding process with contracts that are, more like orange to orange and apple to apple. Before, the board supervised it, and they weren't really very diligent about monitoring this whole process. So I think in the long run, we're going to save on construction because we're going to have a more competitive bidding process. So
Yeah, and if I can add something to that, the Finance and Insurance Committee, we review the financials every month. So in the past, the financials were produced and they were left out there. And Scott and Heskey can attest to that. We challenge, the spending and highlight where we're off track. So, and come up with actions for people to look at those things and mitigate the overruns.
Yeah.
So, and that is reviewed every month.
Yeah, and to that point, just to add, from a board of directors and a finance committee perspective, we haven't been here for, last couple of years. I can't tell history prior, but we haven't come back to the association at the end of the year that we were over budget. on any item, and we have to go back to assessments or pulling out of reserves. So I think it's important to note the fiduciary duty that the board has taken, over the years, to not be in a position where we've noted we've been over budget on items. So I think, with folks like Mike Sisto and the finance committee, certainly Heskey and the board, and certain now also we're seeing the differences of having a professionally managed building as well. The stronger fiduciary items from a monetary perspective are that much stronger, and I think we're seeing the fruits of those labors moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Xavier, just to help answer one of your questions about deductions or write-offs. There are items that we are able to write off. I'm looking at our tax return for 2024. There's items for administrative, beach cleaning, insurance, maintenance / housekeeping, management, pool, professional fees, security, and tax returns preparation. These are all deductions on our 2024 return.
I mean, it's like with your real estate, right stuff off.
Yeah. It's just that interest income that's taxable.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to Zoom. I think we have Todd, if you want to unmute yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. Mike, that was a great report. I have 3 quick questions, and I can repeat them if need be. I believe that Heskey said that we can anticipate our HOA fees going up between 1% and 3% in 2026. So my first question is that on track and accounted for in this budget?
Yes,
Or is
it
that
is.
okay? So is that still about right 1% to 3% increase in HOA fees, Mike?
On average, because it depends on the units, and correct me if I'm wrong, Heskey and Scott, but depending on the size of the units and other factors.
Oh yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
always unit. Yeah. Okay. 2, you mentioned.
Sorry, Todd.
I'm sorry.
With the budget package, there are also a schedule there showing the exact maintenance fees for each unit.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
you can double check that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Mike. Sorry.
Hold on a sec. No, there shouldn't be anybody's fees going up over 2% in 2026. It's all around 1.4%. It may not line up right at 1.4%. Some might be 1.38.
1.39.
And that's because of how we're doing the cable income. The hot wire television and internet the unit owners aren't being charged by your percentage of ownership. Every unit's paying the same price rather than by percentage.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's the same service.
That's gonna skew the percentages a little bit.
I get that. That makes sense. All right, second question, Mike, or Heskey or anyone. The roof, is there going to be a special assessment for the roof, or did you say that has already been accumulated? There's enough money there.
Yeah, there's enough money to do the roof. It's so a couple of years ago or a few years ago, we had a special assessment
Great.
for many improvement projects. So and correct me if I'm wrong, Heskey or Scott, but there's enough money to cover for the roof.
Perfect. All right. And the last question is, and this is really to anybody, but certainly to you, Mike. Are you aware of any projects or special expenses or problems that we can anticipate that you might know of now over the next few years? I mean, I know we have the paver project which we've been talking about for, at least 5 years, but are there any other infrastructure or major expenditures that you are aware of at this point that we might benefit from knowing of coming down the pike?
Well, we scrubbed the numbers and challenged a lot of the numbers. So my answer would be no, I'm not aware of any of those. However, that's why I mentioned before that we're going to do another reserve study to estimate the useful life of some of the assets.
Yeah.
So that'll be a better indicator, because the last study we did was at least 2 years ago. And, the cooling towers, case in point,
Right.
we had anticipated doing that in 2033 or something. And here we are in 2026 having to do it. So.
Yeah.
But
Well,
based
thank
on
you.
the
I really
information we have
appreciate
at hand today, there's nothing to to say that,
But there's nothing on fire right now, and that you've answered the question. Thank you, Mike and team and committee. You guys were doing a terrific job. This was such a well-presented budget. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
thanks for the feedback.
Hey, Frederick, please.
Yeah, hi, thanks for the great presentation. I don't know if you could put back up page 1 of the slide, but whether you can or you can't. First, I agree on the new director of maintenance. He's wonderful, very responsive and very upbeat. I think he'll be great. I'm just trying to understand, I should say, how we go for a salary of 103,000 to 76,000 in fringe benefits. I don't understand. I've run a lot of budgets, and usually we calculated 22 or 24% fringe. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but it said $35,000 for health insurance. I've never heard of an employer contributing $3,000 a month, and it said $41,000 in payroll taxes. And as I understand it,
No, so let me clarify that.
finish.
So the 31,000 is 3% salary inflation for all the staff.
Okay, that's clear.
Okay, so that's just keeping the salaries up to current. And the medical benefits and payroll taxes of totaling 42,000, that's for all the staff. It's not for the maintenance engineer.
Okay, that's a good clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a hand up here in the Ocean Lounge. If you could come up, please. Yes.
That's you, that's you.
There's,
Into the mic.
microphone, please. Name and unit number.
I'm Marcia Seligman in 415. So the only question I have, and this is a small question. Generally, we're using outside attorneys. They go to meetings. I don't know who they report to, but generally every single contract has a built-in, it increases every year at 3%. Now, if those big contracts are reviewed by attorneys, attorneys always negotiate them out. So I don't know how you're using counsel, when you're using counsel, because to me, those contracts are really important to look at in terms of fee, in terms of CPI increases, in terms of insurance, indemnity, everything else. So if someone could explain why, because Hotwire is captive, basically. Although we can bring in someone else, it would be an additional charge to us rather than be part of our association dues.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if anyone ever reviewed that contract.
Of course.
Sure. So all contracts before the board approves does get vetted out, obviously red line going back and forth by legal counsel. All our service providers, those are all, based on contract to hire for services at that point in time. Like for example, as Scott noted, the cleaning and housekeeping. That ultimately is a byproduct of, yes, we have a contract, but it was based on state mandates for, the only increase was on the salaries, meeting minimum wage. But all others are contracts at the time of approval here. So there's nothing that really occurs on a yearly basis.
Okay, because that is a big contract, and I'm just kind of disappointed that we have these built-in fees, because my fees also went up too.
Yeah.
And it's, although it's not based on square footage, it is based on the number of boxes you have.
And that's a personal choice on that point.
Exactly.
But the installations and the running of fiber within the association, that was all at their expense, right? So there is somewhere along the recouping of those expenses, right?
And I understand that.
So that's where that comes in. But those are contracts that were vetted out at the time of approval, right?
Okay.
And those were legal.
Well, thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, all. Aye. Robert Fleischer, 702. My question is medical coverage part of the benefit package for all employees? In other words, if you get an employment here, does it come with medical? Is it an option? Is it a?
It's an option. They're not required to take it.
Okay.
It is an option.
But you said about 75% took it or some number like that.
That's the association's contribution towards the
Okay.
premium.
If they don't take it, do they get money added into their salary?
No.
So why wouldn't everybody take it?
Personal choice.
Well, it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
It may be covered by their spouse or their
That's
partner.
actually the answer. But I just was curious, but there are so many different plans out there. If this has gone up so dramatically, are they getting a Cadillac plan? Or do you have options to say, here, these are the plans, and if you want the best plan, you're gonna have a bigger copay? Do you do anything like that to manage the costs?
So employees have three different options of health coverage, and it ranges from, like the one I opted, I have to be in network and it's what, $37 a paycheck, right? And then the better coverage you want, the more
But
expensive.
in
it's
other
gonna
words,
be.
they could take the best one and it doesn't come off of their salary, or will they have?
No,
to
there
pay-
will be there are two parts to it. 75% employer, 25%.
Okay, that answers.
So based on based on the cost, I will tell you, reviewing HR on a personal, organizational perspective, we automatically put in a 15% run rate on a yearly basis. That is what's standard in the industry that I'm in. So we expect 15%. I also view, at least from a first servicer's perspective, because they are number one property management organization, not only in South Florida, but nationally, they're able to have a much larger pool in the benefits and the costs. So we actually, in a way, reap those benefits. If we were looking at it side by side of being privately managed on our end, I would guarantee you again right now, we'd be having a different discussion that the health insurance and insurance policies, we'd probably be putting a bigger percentage on that.
Thank you for the answer.
Yes, please.
This home has no employees.
Hi, we
have
live in
no-
Aurora, unit 2305.
Yeah.
First of all, Mike, and team, great job, phenomenal. I sat on a few of those, meetings and you guys did incredible jobs, very hard work. Good stuff. Second thing I want to mention, I just want to ask, I don't know, maybe Esty can respond to that. There is currently at the end of 2026, will be 5 million in reserve, 5 and change, something like that. And we will be fully funded, so we will have some of that reserve left over. Like, well, I didn't quite understand. There was like 400,000. That basically is a difference there. Mike mentioned something like that.
So, our reserves are broken down into Sears and non-Sears. So, because of the roofing project, that sort of pushed up the replacement of the cooling towers. So that wasn't, planned for in our prior reserve studies. So that's what's causing us to be a little tight on our non-Sears, because the cooling tower, the HVAC risers, and the units that we've been constantly replacing in the hallways, those are all coming out of non-Sears.
Gotcha. Okay, and the other question I have, if it's possible, I don't know if it's possible, maybe a quick work of numbers to see. I know we had this discussion last year, and since we had experience with full reserve this year, to see what would it be if we would have gone the other route of non-full reserve for this year, for 2026 budget, if we could see actually the numbers to see how it breaks down, and where we would actually be if, with all these projects that are going through or plan on going through, where we would be at that point.
So if I could add to that. So one of the items, prime example, as Mike noted, the cooling towers. Based on what our reserves may have been, right, we'd have to get you the exact numbers, but let's hypothetically say over the years, right, and knowing that we still have 7 more years, we may have a total in our reserves of $300,000. But now that we have to replace the cooling towers, and let's say it's a ticket item of $1 million, because we are not in a pool, we'd have to find those $700,000 and not be able to take from the other reserves because they've been identified for those specific items. We would then probably be in a position where we would have to do an assessment for $700,000 for that, not being in the pool. So that's ultimately what the association agreed upon, right? Of going to the pool.
I just wanted to get
Yeah,
like,
and that's kind of,
fair enough, so that makes sense. And the last question I have, with the little time I have left, regarding, I forgot, I'll probably jump back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just real quick, just so everyone's under the understanding, what we were saying on what we're gonna have in reserves at the end of 2026 is just an estimate and a projection, right? It depends on what some of these prices and costs come in on these projects the association's gonna undertake. And then also, as I forget if it was Heskey or Mike that mentioned, we will be looking to do a new reserve study in the middle of next year at some point. And that'll factor in, if we plan on having an overage at the end of this year or in 2026 in our Sears or non-Sears account, that'll take into their calculations of what our future contributions will be.
Just remember the last question, sorry.
Yeah.
Regarding regarding the reserve study, I'm just wondering who does the reserve study? How often does it happen? And who is involved here with the reserve study when it's done? And what happens to project that, they're new? Like, for example, we want to change the garage door openers or fob or stuff like this that didn't exist in the past. What do we do with those? Thank you.
So we're required to do reserve studies at least once every 3 years. The recommendation is if the association finishes any large ticket project, you would want to then update your study right after that. I believe the company that does it is Association Reserves.
Yes.
They're the ones that's been doing the reserve studies, and as of now, we'd be looking to go back with them next year to do the updates, but that, again, that could change. That's just the plan as of right now.
So do they put in new projects that come in, like the garage door opener or fobs or whatever it is?
If there was something new we brought into the building, yes, we could have that added into probably more than likely the non-Sears. It would be a non-Sears item. But yes, we can add additional things into that.
which also, now that the elevators and obviously concrete restoration, that now pushes that, once the reserve study happens, now that recalculates all those items as well.
So what's going to help us get a more accurate reserve study is that actually Sharp Project Management is shepherding the bidding process. So we're going to have a better idea of what the cooling tower replacement is going to cost us and what the HVAC risers are going to cost us and so forth. So we'll have a more accurate study of our reserves. Also, in prior years, we just rely on these reserve study people to say, oh, this cooling tower looks like we can get by another 15 years, or the roof looks like, it's got, it's the end of its lifetime. What we're going to do is have our own engineers go over what they think the remaining lifetime usefulness of each building system is.
Is that the engineer we hired?
Yes. So they cost us about 10 to 12,000 a month to shepherd all these ongoing projects and to sort of keep things moving.
Roll with the reserve studies, somebody on the board, that's part of what I asked.
Yeah, the finance committee and it's all integral to what we do.
Yep.
Brooke.
Oh,
Hello, good evening. At the point of order, I've noticed that several people have had interactions that have gone way over the 3-minute mark, and I timed my comments at around 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and I was wondering if the board would provide me a similar latitude and around less than 4 minutes to read my
running the
things.
clock. I'm running the clock. I'm letting you go over. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good day. Like many of my neighbors, I expected the quarterly fees to decrease after the recent projects were completed. However, our maintenance fees have not gone down, and we were significantly over budget last year. My focus today remains on the need to address waste in our operations. Last Friday, there was a document dump of reports covering 5 months of $50,000 of construction management consulting fees. These documents provide a good example. These reports show consultants charging up to $300 per hour. Even at the low end, $175 per hour is about a $364,000 annual salary. This is a specific case for our primary person, Ryan Walpo, who bills out at $175 an hour. Based on the document dump last Friday, everyone should learn his name because it appears to have many assigned tasks that could be performed in-house by homeowner volunteers or more efficiently managed. Due to time limits, I will highlight some examples. We were billed a total of 4 hours by 3 individuals just to prepare our first invoice of $12,000 for the month of June. We also see periodic redundant charges for another individual at $125 an hour for updates and report writing, despite Ryan Walpo himself being paid for countless hours of the same work. These both are excessive and should be covered by overhead. Furthermore, we are duplicating quality work that has already been performed. The September construction management report includes a decision to move back to square one on the waterproofing exterior and paver design. We had a design committee, an open process, and a conceptual design developed in consultation with homeowners. While not perfect, this work should not be thrown into the dumpster. Now we are paying the CM firm to start over. I suspect Ryan and his colleagues will spend more money on selecting a new designer than we spent on the current conceptual design. If we need help designing, why are we not using the designer we already have? The designer is up to speed and trained in gaining consensus from condo associations. For example, the September report includes Ryan developing a survey. It seems to me that a designer is much better positioned to know the information needed to develop a quality design than the construction management firm. There are other issues, such as the decision that the current design was too busy without homeowner input, and Ryan being designated to select a group of new potential designers. My second topic is the reserve study and the out-of-sequence spending in the past year. For over a year, several homeowners, myself included, have raised concerns about problems with the reserve study. Yet the board has insisted the study was professionally prepared and endorsed the study. The board refused offers to improve the study. At the same time, the board has approved several projects that were never recommended as an expense this year, based on the very reserve study they endorsed. These include garage door upgrades, fob updates, additional beach chairs, and weight room upgrades. These appear to be pet projects of board members. We should be using the reserve study and an open public process that captures the desires of the 300 homeowners who aren't on the board, not just the 7 board members, in prioritizing spending. I believe Kathy actually made a similar point when we were discussing the pet role. This double standard is clear. For over half a decade, I have simply asked for hall decorations, which were popular and never removed by a material change vote to be returned to my floor. I even offered to pay the expense myself. I was told there were no monies in our budget for the hallway decorations, and then refused the ability to self-fund. Lastly, I'm happy to share written documents that support these assertions. However, I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions in the lounge? Online, can you go through all hands? Okay. Thank you. Okay, for consideration and adopting the 2026 operating budget, with the approval on 2026 as presented, collecting $4,526,269 in owner assessments, and in addition, fully funding the Sears and non-Sears in the amounts of $1,586,200 in Sears contributions and $412,000 in non-Sears contributions. Those in favor?
Mark, I'd like to speak.
We were just, we asked if there was.
Okay, so am I not allowed to speak?
Let him-
I mean, because
I asked if there was anybody else. Please come in.
I'm really sorry that I was so late.
Be on time next time.
My name is Glenn Schrager. How's everybody doing? Glenn Schrager, 107. I have a lot of problems with the budget, and I guess it's because I like money. And we need to save money, and we spend it recklessly. I mean, I was flabbergasted.
Speak into the mic, please.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I really want to speak to the owners. Because I think the problem is that the board acts like they're our boss. And that's not how it's supposed to work. I was the president of the condo association in Victoria Park, and I deferred exclusively to the owners. And I mean, I found out I'm not allowed to bring a bid on a roofing project. It has to go through Sharp, and they're getting $70,000. I don't think we should pass this budget. I have a lot of problems with it. I emailed everybody earlier today, objections, and I don't think we should pass this budget.
Maybe mention a few issues that you have with the budget? Seriously.
Sure.
Go to the mic. Go to the mic. That's a mic.
Because we have people, we have owners online. We want them to hear.
So we have a $2 million roof budget on what I'm told should be at max a $1.4 million job. And it has to go through a consulting company. Why? That's one problem. We have $170,000 in new salaries that are unexplained. Where's the money going? Where's the contracts? Has anybody seen them? First Service Residential gets 22% of all new hires. It's interesting. The only people I see is Bobby and Dotson. Where are all the old employees? 22%. That's approximately $252,000 a year just off hiring new people. Why have window costs increased 50%? It used to be under $1,000 to get a new window. And now it's over $1,500, $1,600. I have a problem with that. Why don't we get a line of credit to reduce the fees that we pay? I know that's been discussed, but has it been done? I mean, those are just some of my issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well noted.
I second it more. Everything said is correct. It's duplication.
You want to talk? Come on.
I can tell you exactly. I don't like to talk.
Well, we can't hear the conversation that's happening there.
I much rather write to you. But
Speak to the mic, please. Speak in the mic.
my name is James. And first of all, I like to second everything that he said. You are overspending every day. You don't have any explanation of detailed explanation of each expense. You're just giving us general numbers. You have the backups for this. The other day, I went to the office to ask how many employees do we have. Somebody said 20, somebody said 25, somebody said 30. Nobody has a clue how many employees we have. We are spending $1.7 million, $1.6 million on employees. Front desk. You have front desk, you're spending so much dollars. You're spending for security services that there's nobody in the security. I walk into the garage, I have to go by myself anywhere. I mean, security doesn't exist. I've got to ask somebody 4 times to put the barbecue on. All the old timers have gone out. You spend money to put doorknobs. I come home with 3 groceries. Nobody opens up the door. I park my car
and I'm gonna get into an accident because of that light that you guys put. Nobody comes out and directs traffic anymore. You spent management services 80, let me tell you exactly how much. There are two management services. One of them you spend $8,549, which adds up to $102,000. I don't know who that is. And then on top of it, what he said, you pay another $21,000 a month for, you pay 21,000 a month, $252,000 to first services. For what? I don't know. You have identified 3 sections of employees. Even the office supplies. How many people are in the office? 3 people?
Yes.
Yeah. You spend $1,500 a month on supplies. I ran a company, 167 people working in it. I have never been involved in these things. Now that I'm retired, I walk around and I see so many things that don't make any sense. You change the employees like I change my underwear every day. There's a new person sitting in front of it, in front desk every day. I don't recognize them. I've been here 34 years. I've known everybody. The only person that's flipped is Jim in the front desk. You know, this is, you just give us numbers. Even for repairs and maintenance. How can you guess how much money you're gonna spend on repairs and maintenance? Do you have a backup on these repairs and maintenance? Who authorizes them? Do you have details? What was last year's, what is going to be this year's? Do you have details?
Those are all illustrated from year to year. Those are
Illustrated what?
projections.
They're estimates, right? 2026 budget is an estimate.
Yes.
It's not actual, right?
No.
You're guessing how much money you're gonna spend.
Yeah, based on prior year.
On prior
Prior
year.
year.
It's the budget. You know, we're
That's
just
the
setting
budget.
aside some money. We don't spend it, we save it.
And prior year.
Nobody
no,
says we have to spend it.
You did not spend it last year.
Yeah, we spent close to it.
Close to it is not what you spent.
But we're not
And
over budget.
and the matter of fact, like everybody else, I have a problem. For the past 6 years, 7 years, you promised the maintenance is gonna go down. You come up with new projects, elevators.
No,
They're not even
and
done.
Expectation.
They're not even
We-
done.
we
Elevators.
are Also an aging building, you could notice.
I understand. Also, you have
Yes,
three, you pay so much money for the elevators, they don't work. Do you have problems
Thank
with
you.
the elevators? Everybody has problems with the elevators.
Thank you, we want to be accountable for.
I would not
for the
pay
maintenance.
those guys the $370,000 that you have not paid yet until all elevators are fixed and they are working
And we
appropriately.
do have and we are working on a bond on that as well, because they are delayed.
You know, I'm not blaming you. You're doing what you think is best. But I think that you have to involve these people on a monthly basis. Yeah, you have to.
And there are, the committee is open to discussion. The finance committee gets owner input and involvement. I think.
I think I mentioned at the last meeting, and you were there, that you're more than welcome to make suggestions at the meetings. There was a question from Brooke on the reserve study. I mentioned that we're open to using the expertise we have in the building. Just participate and we'll listen to you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will participate. No,
Just a note, thank you. I wanna note about, all right, go ahead. No, I do want to note about, there was a question that came up about the 22%. Just to note, the majority of this would be paid by the association if we had self-managed. To include, it is a percentage of the wages paid, which includes social security tax, federal state unemployment tax, workers' compensation insurance, first services contribution to employee 401k benefits.
Why couldn't we manage that in-house?
We did as an association, and the association made a decision to go to property managed, outside of being, privately
So
managed.
we are
So
paying
they
this
do
guy
go,
$252,000 a year to manage what we can do in-house.
well, we would have had to have those employees as well, but not,
No, that's not their management fees, 100 and, it's like, 10,000 a month.
like $100,000.
Plus
All of those other,
another
other-
No, those are payroll costs. I mean,
there's a management service here for $8,000. There's a 22,000.
the
There are
22
two different things.
Yeah, the 22% is related to payroll overhead costs. So that's for their services, 8,000 a month,
Thank you.
eight and change.
Wanted to keep to the,
Mark,
Mayor, you had your chance.
Glenn Schreier, 107. Who negotiated that contract for 22%? Because am I not allowed to talk or let's talk?
a 2-minute rule that has been.
Okay, can you show me when did I start and when did I end? How long did I speak?
I gave you over 3 minutes. I gave you over 3 minutes.
Work calmly here.
I'm sorry. I'm upset. And in full disclosure, I'm friends with Malik, and I see the way he's been treated. He was defamed, and it's very upsetting for me.
It's not on the point of order. It's not, this is not the topic. Okay, this is not the topic.
Who negotiated 22%? Because I know people that are condo lawyers, and they said they've never seen that.
Contract review and a negotiation. The contract was reviewed by legal when it was signed as well.
Did
And
Thomas
as a board,
Berger?
no.
Who?
Okay.
We have to stop getting ripped off by Becker Polikoff. We have to stop getting ripped off by First Residential. I'm sorry, but we're being like, you know, when Elon Musk went into the federal government, they said, what did you learn from being in the federal government? And he goes, it's unfixable. And I hope that's not the case. I'm here because I want to fix things. I want, and I'm sorry if I'm upset, but like I've been watching what's going on, and after some stuff happened, I started digging in, and I'm aware of a lot of things. And the more I learn, the angrier I get. And I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I address, I'd like to address something.
Sure.
I know people are upset, and I know people have their points, but we're losing sight of what's actually happening here. From what I'm hearing, from my perspective, a lot of people are upset with the fact that we went from self-managed to First Service. Now, those of you who have been here with First Service, every month we have meetings, and you can actually see the amount of stuff that has not been done under self-managed. It's clear and it's visible. It's not something we're making up. This building has been neglected, in my opinion, for years, and I've been here since 2009. I have not seen anything like what First Service has identified and has now fixed. And it's costing us all money now with stuff that should have been done 10 years ago. So I asked myself, hold on, I pay my maintenance every month. For the last 10 years, my maintenance has been going to taking care of this building. 10 years later, I see nothing has gotten done. I want to know where my money has been going when it was self-managed. Second, the projects that have been done under self-managed, and we can start with lobby project, the concrete restoration, the elevators that were put in 2022 that was nominated by a different board, okay? Motion was made to bring these people in. Wasn't us, wasn't me, okay? Anything that has been self-managed, in my opinion, has cost us more money. So when you're saying that you're upset with First Service, I totally disagree with, this is just my frustration. It's election time and people are now coming forward. There have been meetings every month with finance, with every committee in this building, monthly. Nobody has comes now when we're at the finish line, everybody has something to say. Where was everybody for the last year? I'm sorry, but I believe First Service is doing the right thing. I believe your comment about Mick has something to do with something different. It's out of line here. That's just my opinion.
Well, you're going to get the building sued. Because
that's
it's fame.
That's your
But
decision.
at 22%, I'm a lawyer, is considered usury. Like, that's illegal. How can they even
Glenn.
get away with charging 22%?
Hold on.
It's
Listen,
22%.
Denise,
Thank you.
Denise,
Excuse me,
no,
excuse me.
Denise, explain why we paid $500 for a company that's billing $11,000 in services, and then they had $500 to prepare the bill. I'm sorry, you can't tell me for half a decade that you can't afford to buy a piece of artwork on my floor and then pay $500 to bill an invoice for $11,000.
But,
No, this is real, Denise.
I'm not arguing with you. You're asking two different questions. Your artwork on the floor has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No, I went to the.
We need to stay on task and we need to
Right,
run the
you're,
meeting.
you're burning through the money on Sharp.
I totally disagree.
Denise, I understand, no, $13,000 a month for Sharp project management? I'm sorry, $500 to prepare an invoice, that's an invoice.
Thank you.
Are you?
No, no, we can't be going back.
We're not going
Adjourning
back.
the meeting at this
Actually,
point.
just a second.
Ask question, but stay on point.
I'm not asking a question. I just want to mention here that there's a lot of people that actually work really hard here. And yeah, maybe I don't agree and maybe I agree with some of the stuff they say. All the stuff, you got to remember, everybody, all this stuff has already been discussed in previous meetings. Now, what I suggest going forward, what the board should be doing, and it seems like that's a big problem with this board, with some people on the board, is communication, just better communication. Clearly, people don't understand, people don't know, people don't have any idea of what's actually happening. And they can attend those meetings, but sometimes they don't. Maybe a good idea for next time is a workshop, a week long, something like this, to allow people to come and see what's happening with the budget. And then after that, vote it. And that's not a problem. I mean, yeah, we're re-repeating the history, but give the people, the residents, another chance to see everything. That's it.
Thank you.
I agree.
Yep, so we approved, so going back, those in favor of the budget meeting?
I've had my hand up for a very long time. I've had my hand up for a very long time.
Who's that?
Right.
First of all, nobody is disputing the great job First Services does. And I think Scott is terrific. Scott is compensated. He has a salary that doesn't come out of that First Service business. We already heard that all of the payroll taxes is a different budget item. So all these owners are asking for, which I think is very fair, is a line item description of where the other $262,000 is going. Who is beyond Scott and beyond the payroll taxes, which are elsewhere? What are we getting for $262,000 a year? That is a tremendous amount of money with no particular line item for anything. I understand that Mr. Snell must devote a few hours a week or a few hours a month in some kind of consultation, but First Services, great job running the building. That's why Scott is well compensated. $262,000. I think the speakers who have come to the microphone are very right. They're asking a fair question. If you were spending your own money and having a $262,000 add-on in addition to, the consultant you hired, all the payroll taxes, you'd like to know where it's going. I think that's a fair question, and I do not think the budget should be voted on until we see that line item situation.
That's what you read.
Yeah, and just to know, one more time, Frederick, to the point that $200,000 includes the combination of all the following: Social Security tax.
Incorrect. He showed that as a separate item. That's
No, that was just medical.
Oh,
No, he showed the Social Security $40,000 with extra, which is a little hard to understand because
The math. We have $1.15 million in salary.
that was extra
So we
salary.
have $1 million in salaries. You figure Social Security and Medicare, that's 0.062 and 1.45%. So that's 7.5 right there. Then you have state unemployment insurance. Then you have workman's comp.
I understand all that.
So that should add up to about 13, 14%.
Correct. But that's
All right. So then we have 22%. So we've covered, let's say, 15% of it for costs. Throw in disability insurance and so
That's
forth.
what you
So
said.
First Services also trains our employees. They
22%.
train the staff. They have meetings with them. They monitor them. So it's not just a matter of covering their payroll overhead. So in addition to paying the payroll overhead, they also provide training for the staff, especially for the security staff that come and go, and they're responsible for replacing people that quit on short notice. They're responsible for people who call in sick. So we have so that's part of their fees. Yeah, I know that there's a $12,000 item here for taxes and FICA and Medicare. I'm not sure why that's not included in this, but I have a feeling that's related to some taxes on fringe benefits.
Just anybody make a responsible statement. What is wrong with seeing a line item of how $262,000 is being spent every year? I agree with Mr. Gershner. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. The other gentleman, you wouldn't spend your money this way with all kinds of vagary. And all the things that you talked about, Scott does so many of these things. Again, I'm going to say the guy does a great job, not a good job, a great job. I hope he has a very high salary, very high benefits. But for all the rest of it that's going on, just show us some line items. Show us something that justify. I mean, I have no idea. 22% sounds high to me, and it has nothing to do with payroll taxes, nothing to do with any withholding. Let's make that clear. But if people who are experienced in the field says that it's equivalent to usury, and nobody and my understanding, I know I was away at the time, that the hiring of First Services, and again, praising Scott to the heavens, that nobody ever approved that. That somehow was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that was kind of like an under the radar board decision, because God knows, like, anything would be better than Joanne. What a friggin' disaster that was. So, I don't blame anybody for doing something out of panic, but was that huge budgetary decision made without any consent? Was that legal?
Yeah.
That's it, we pay for it.
Yep.
This way we don't have to.
So there is a recommendation as well, let the, for moving forward as well, let a third party account review the budget.
We can get hello. Certified, we'll get a certified public accountant to give us a certified statement. We can either have a certified statement or a review statement. It's gonna cost us more money, so be it, make everybody happy. That's all I can say.
Well, we have to piece.
We're trying to do it in-house, Yeah, but we're talking millions of dollars here, we're not talking $5 here, that's.
Well, we are also talking based on the percentage, was that in our overall budget, $200,000 winds up being a 4% discussion.
Certified statement.
I think we should.
We'll get a price.
We could.
Excuse me, this is Katina. A certified public accountant is not going to give you a certification that your budget is good or bad. A budget is an estimate what we're going to spend next year. I understand that you guys want an explanation as what the increase is and the details. Getting a certified public accountant and paying $500 an hour is not going to give us the information we need. I think if we can give you a detailed explanation as what the $265,000 increase is, and then see if that satisfies your question. I mean, if we can hire an accountant, it's a waste of money. It's also our money. And the way we look at the budget is if it is our money, and that's how we're spending it. And we critique it, we challenge it, and we make sure that whatever is spent is for the benefit of the owners and the building. And by the way, it is our money.
So,
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add to that is the next Finance and Insurance Committee meeting is December 4th. To Katina's point, we can have and I understand the owner's frustration, what have you. We owe it to you to be transparent, and we promise to do that. And we can have itemized what that includes.
Yes, I think that, and if we want to challenge some of the things that the building is planning to do, or the committee has approved, or the committee is proposing, that's great. But I don't think we should be spending more money to get other people to tell us if the budget is good or bad. They cannot tell you.
They can tell us how much we spent.
Yeah, they can tell us how much we spent.
We in the committee we see a lot of stuff and challenge it,
So, Mike,
but we're also aware of other information. For example, and I don't want to defend First Services, but they pay the bills. They have staff taking care of that. Like if we've decided to outsource now, if we're reconsidering that, or some owners want to reconsider that, that's a whole different story. It's not the purpose of this meeting, but we can itemize what the 200,000 plus is, and share that with you at the next finance meeting.
So Mike, if you could do that and moving forward, break down all of these items from a contributory perspective, based on the management fees, which, will illustrate also the, whether we were self-managed, we would have these taxes and expenses anyway, as well as, the fringe costs of, as Heskey noted, hiring as well as training, those would be on our dime. So there are, those management fees, added to that as well. But at this point, I think it's on the board to put it to vote again. I want to confirm. So we did vote on it already, but considering we had open discussions, we want to open this up from a vote.
Line items, not only on the $252,000. We will look at items, other line items for other things too. So we can read them on a monthly basis.
And clearly, as Mike noted, they are officially noticed, and these are open items that you could go to the committee. We
call your board meetings.
Thank you.
No, you don't.
No, hopefully we're gonna adjourn this meeting at this point.
I just
Last question.
I just like to make a statement. The last couple of years, owners in this building have been complaining about the health, about things not being fixed, okay, about them not getting their maintenance requests done, okay, and they wanted better help here, they wanted better security here, they wanted their maintenance things being taken care of, okay, and we're finally getting to that. And that costs money. Okay, now I am not saying that a question shouldn't be answered that owners are asking for, but we've been asking for better quality of everything, and that costs money, and it costs more money. Okay, and we should be grateful that we're finally getting there.
With the 1.9. Okay, once again, for the adoption and approval of the 2026 budget.
I'm really sorry. I think this vote should be deferred. I do not think you can vote on a budget which has a $262,000 item without the owners understanding what is included in that. It has nothing to do with Scott, who's well paid, I hope. And if it's for a phone call twice a week to Mr. Snell, with all apologies, that's not $262,000. You cannot pass a budget where a gigantic item. This is not a good decision. You have defer the meeting for a week. You said there's another finance committee. Let Mr. I forgot his name, the man who brought up that he thinks it's usury. The world isn't going to end if this is deferred for a week. Maybe we're going to see the $262,000 and think we're getting the greatest bargain in the history of the world. But you can't do this. I'm just saying it. This is a very unwise decision. That's it. I have nothing further to say. Very unwise.
Okay, so we're not gonna, we're gonna defer the budget.
We'll give them a week.
Yeah.
Mike, are you all right with that?
Well, the next meeting is December 4th, so you'll have to defer to December 5th.
Okay.
So we may go into the beginning of the year from, without a budget, but let's kind of move forward with that. Let's break it up and let's see how we could have an emergency meeting afterwards.
The beginning of the year. Has to be done.
What's gonna happen during this week that we're deferring? Can you?
So, there is Mike Sisto and the Finance Committee are going to post for a, what is it, Mike, December 5th meeting?
I'm just double checking the date. Scott, do you have it? It's off the top of my head. I thought it was December 4th. Let me check.
Irrespective, it's right after Thanksgiving. There will be ample time from a notice perspective.
Yeah, so the next Finance Committee meeting is at 3 p.m. on December 4th.
Okay,
Factoring in that, the Thanksgiving weekend and what have you. So we'll put the information around and we'll have a chart at that meeting. And then anybody who's interested in hearing about it, please attend.
Can I say something? I can only say one thing. Those finance meetings are always open. It's funny that you don't see everybody there at the workshop, but yet, once it's published, everybody wants to bitch about it. So I suggest all of you, if you think you're spending your own money or we're spending it not wisely, go to the workshop, speak up. It's your money. You have the right to ask. But if you don't come to the workshop, don't even sit there and say it. I don't want to hear no more.
Bill, please.
I was told I was on the application.
Adjourn the meeting.
All right, so,
Committee, and then
I have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second motion.
Is that gonna be on Zoom? That's
Yes,
the only
it
question
is.
I have. Is that gonna be on Zoom, that meeting?
Absolutely. It always is.
Thank you. Thank you.
When are the finance meetings?
They're published. They're published all the time.
And I'm retired, I can attend all your meetings. Yeah, but.
For what it's worth, I like your service and I wish you were getting the $300 an hour that we're paying Walpo to prepare an invoice.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Where's that drink? Where's that drink?
Coming. Minimum wage is now going up to $15.
$15.
I don't know what we're paying them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all here.
It's paying $1.5 billion salaries. What are they getting paid?
It's all staged, and them. That's why I say they're bad. It's all staged.
And I would have played.
I sure did.
And I would have voted. I would have passed it as it is.
Money behind
I
the
would have,
scenes.
I think God's doing a good job.
Well,
But I will say.
Send an email for the finance.
Wonder gonna say anything about.
Well, now you retire, you get everything. Get them, just don't see them if you can't be fired. Now that you're retired, now you'll see them.
Make sure we stay.
I'm much better at writing stuff than talking. You're not pushing me.